Hey, everybody. Wherever you're tuning in from, thank you for being here with us today. This is the True Freedom Project. And around here, we believe something real. True freedom is something that you build. It doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens through practice, through structure, and through community. And most importantly, showing up when it's really, really hard. And before we get into anything heavy, I just want to start off with some food for thought questions. Have you ever lived a life that looked fine from the outside, but inside you were barely holding it together? When the world thinks you're strong, but inside you're falling apart. What happens when survival mode and institutionalization becomes the only way you know how to live? How many times do you try to change your life only to end up right back where you started? How many times have you walked out of jail or prison with the same untraded military grade PTSD and addiction to the same tyrannical PO and a wife that's still in active addiction with your kids in foster care or worse? No support system to help you focus on what you should and can change and what you can't. And what do you do when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, trying to rebuild a life you never learned how to live in the first place? This is the True Freedom Project. It's a space for people and by people who have lived through it, survived it, and are learning to thrive on the other side of it. Veterans, street veterans, people just released after years of incarceration, people rebuilding after addiction and alcoholism, mental illness, and behavioral issues, survivors of the sex trade or sexual violence, people who have been homeless, people who are divorced, lost everything, and can't legally see their kids, or like many of us here, carrying a combination of most, if not all, of the above. So if you're here, you're probably not looking for inspiration. You're looking for something real, something grounded, and something that actually helps. So if you're trying to change your life, if you're trying to stop repeating the same patterns, if you're trying to build something solid and something you can stand in, you're in the right place. Because true freedom comes from practice. Welcome to the True Freedom Project. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the True Freedom Project. My name's Omar, and yes, I am a recovering addict, alcoholic. And since we're going to be talking about 12-step programs here on the show, I got to do the quick disclaimer and let you guys know that I don't speak on behalf of any 12-step fellowship whatsoever. Um, NA, AA, SLA, HA. I don't represent any one of them. And I do that out of respect for the traditions. Um, all of them carry the 12 traditions. Traditions specifically state, the common welfare comes first. There is only one ultimate authority, and that is the loving God as he may express himself in their group conscience. Um, Step 6, where they don't endorse, finance, or lend their name to any facility or outside enterprise. How they have no opinion on outside issues. They don't ally themselves with any sect, denomination, race, creed, organization, religion, or lack of religion, all that stuff, and the spirit of anonymity. I'm not going to be talking about anybody else's recovery but my own. These are just my own experiences, my take on them after about, give or take, 34 years of experience in the room and out of the rooms, right? I didn't do anything perfect. But yeah, just especially the part I'm speaking on my own behalf, all right, not of the fellowship. And so they don't get pulled into outside opinions or issues, keeping anonymity intact and making sure that we're always about the message and not the person. So today we're going to cover step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood him. And I did take some notes because I want to not hold you guys hostage. And this is where things get really weird and uncomfortable for a lot of people. And not because they don't want to change, really, but because just that word God, it can come with a lot. It can come with a lot of trauma, a lot of history, right? Like fear-based teaching. When religion's taught through fear instead of growth, it can deeply affect people, right? And some examples include like the constant focus on hell, right? Punishment or damnation. If you mess up, God's going to reject you. And living in that fear of doing something wrong all the freaking time. And that can lead to chronic anxiety, obsessive guilt about morality, right? And being afraid of thinking for yourself. So instead of like a guiding behavior, it creates this constant internal surveillance and panic all the time. You got shame and guilt conditioning, right? Some of those environments teach you're inherently flawed or bad. Your thoughts, your body, your identity, you're all sinful, especially when it comes around like sexuality, identity, emotions, right? Anger, doubt, and grief. And that impact could be, deep shame and self-hatred. It could be um, like having difficulty forming a really healthy identity. Uh, yeah, and then feeling unworthy of love or belonging. And it's can mess with people up. And the person doesn't just feel like they did something wrong; they feel like that they are just wrong, right? And then you got control over thinking, spiritual manipulation, right? Sometimes religion's used to control how people think. Like, don't question, just obey, right? Doubt itself is a sin. And then when you got leaders positioning themselves as the only authority, and just all kinds of craziness that can come with that. And man, that can lead to like loss of critical thinking. It can be a constant dependence on authority, right? Or confusion between obedience and truth. And I think a lot of people call that spiritual abuse. Yeah, when authority is used to like override somebody's autonomy, it's not sure anybody would get any kind of like trauma out of that, right? And then you got like suppression of emotions. Like you shouldn't feel that way whatsoever, right? Just pray over it. If if you had faith, you wouldn't feel this way at all, right? So it just leads to like emotional repression, difficulty processing trauma, feeling broken, just for having normal human emotions and reactions. And in those cases, instead of healing emotions, you learn to like suppress, you learn to like bury, and and everything just gets amplified. All that stuff gets amplified. You got moral injury, where a person feels forced against their values, right? Or uh, they witness harm being justified in the name of God, right? Being told to like shun other people. Um, they start to justify harm, or they exclude, right? Or you can experience a lot of hypocrisy in that kind of leadership. So what ends up happening with that is like a loss of trust, um, anger, confusion, betrayal, right? And yeah, it can lead to like a serious crisis of meaning for a lot of human beings. So it's not just pain; it's like a violation of your internal moral compass, right? And then we got identity rejection or exclusion, right? Yeah, some people are rejected for who they are, what they believe, even how they live. Examples of that are actually pretty easy and are talked about pretty widely today. Things like LGBTQ and exclusion, um, cultural gender roles, right, that enforce like insane strict rigidity. Um, and A lot of people get cut off for leaving their faith. That can lead to like isolation, fear of abandonment, internal conflict between identity and belonging. And the person feels like they have to choose between truth and just acceptance. And that can be traumatizing, right? A lot of people experience trauma after leaving religion. And I especially like that podcast with Britt Hartley, No Nonsense Spirituality, where she covers this pretty in depth, and I highly recommend it. But religious deconstruction. So even after leaving a harmful environment, people struggle with like fear that they're going to be punished. They got to lose their community. They're completely confused about their identity. They got to pretty much rebuild everything from the ground up. And what kind of impact is that? Depression, anxiety, feeling lost or completely untethered, or in some word, in a lot of instances, like I've heard, is like extreme nihilism. So it's just not leaving beliefs; it's losing a framework of reality, identity, and community for a lot of people. Um, and then you got hypocrisy and betrayal by leaders, right? And I'm sure everybody can think of something along these lines, where you got like crazy abuse of power. You got people doing things against their will, and then you try to cover up all the harm that you've done, and that can create a sense of like deep betrayal and trauma, loss of trust. Um, in people and even in God, right? And that's when like cynicism and your emotions just start to shut down. And this hits especially hard because trust was spiritual. It wasn't just personal. Trust is a very spiritual thing, and and then trauma intensified. Trauma intensified for survivors, for people with past trauma. So when you got control based religions, that can reinforce survival patterns. Shame based messaging can deepen existing wounds, right? So you got this constant state of like a hyper vigilance, fear of authority, and difficulty trusting anything greater, right? And what's presented as surrender can feel like just a complete loss of safety. So, and I want to say this because it's really important to say this, and it really matters, because religion can also, dude, bring a lot of meaning, provide meaning for people. It can offer community. It supports healing. It creates structure and purpose. And the issue isn't the religion itself. It's how it was taught. It's how it was experienced and how it was enforced. And this is a huge problem for a lot of people when they come into these rooms, dude. They want to skip over this step, right? And you miss what step three is actually trying to do for you. Because the step really is not about whether you believe in God or not, or just how much you believe. It's about being honest about what's currently running your life. And if you're really honest when you come into these rooms, something is running your life, right? And for most of us, it's definitely not peace and clarity. It's fear. It's these old patterns of behavior that we can't stop repeating. It's trauma, and um, or that need to constantly control everything so you don't feel exposed or off balance. And step three is really just a moment where you go, yeah, I really can't keep doing this. I can't keep living like this anymore. Um, I'm ready to start doing something different. That's it. Right? It's not some huge religious leap. It can be if that's the direction you want to take. It's just you deciding, I'm done letting this version of me run the show, right? I need something different. So step two is realizing that your thinking alone isn't going to get you where you need to go. Step three is actually choosing to move in a different direction altogether. It's the willingness. It's when willingness turns into action, and and I think it's important to say this clearly, right? This isn't about giving up responsibility and just laying back. It's about handing your life over. Um, yeah, it's about handing your life over to something deeper and something wiser, right? So it's not just handing your life over, sitting back. It's about letting go of all the chaos in your life. It's realizing that a lot of your instincts that got you all the way here and served you, especially if you survived trauma and a lot of just like survival situations, those instincts aren't always going to be reliable anymore. Yeah, they kept you alive. Um, yeah, but they don't necessarily help you live well. So step three becomes this shift where you start choosing principles over reactions. So instead of just doing whatever your emotions or your habits are telling you to do in the moment, right? You pick something different. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, is that they think there is only one way to understand this step, but there isn't. If you're someone who believes in God, then yeah, this can look like you're surrendering. Looks like you're surrendering your will. It looks like you surrendering your will to something greater than you, trusting instead of trying to control everything yourself. And if you're not sure what you believe, that's completely okay too. The step doesn't require you to have anything figured out whatsoever. It just asks you to be open to admit that your way just might not be working. And even if you don't believe in God whatsoever, this step still makes sense. At the core of it is behavioral. Right? It's you deciding to stop living in reaction mode and you start living with intention. It's choosing honesty over denial, accountability over blame, learning how to repair instead of just constantly avoid and run. That's all step three is doing at like a practical level. Um, that line, as we understood him, that part is actually really important because it's basically saying just start where you are. You don't have to force some belief that doesn't feel real to you at all. And you just can't keep pretending your current way is working if it's not. And I understand this. For those people that have lived through trauma, right? I think the step is just even harder because when your whole system has been built around survival mode, right? Institutionalization, control feels like safety, and being aware, being ready, thinking 10 steps ahead, that's how you learn to stay okay. So when somebody tells you to let go, your body doesn't hear peace, it hears danger. And that actually makes sense. So this isn't about blindly letting go. It's about learning, slowly learning that you don't have to live in it, right? You don't have to live in that constant state of tension for the rest of your life. It's about processing. It's about the process of retraining your system to realize you can actually exist without trying to manage everything all the time. So when you zoom out, it's really interesting because this idea isn't just recovery. You end up seeing it everywhere. In Christianity, you hear, "Not my will, but yours be done." In Islam, it's literally baked into the meaning of the word itself, right? A Muslim is someone who submits to the will of Allah. In Judaism, there's a lot of emphasis on trusting God's guidance instead of leaning on your own understanding, right? In Hinduism, it's about doing your part, but letting go of the outcome. In Buddhism, it's letting go of attachment, of control, of craving, all that stuff, right? Aversion, because that is what creates suffering. And even in Stoicism, right, it's the same idea. It's about being able to focus on what you can control, and you stop fighting what you can't. Different language, same shift. And hopefully, at some point, you stop letting fear, ego, and control just run your life, and you start aligning with something that actually works and is beneficial to you. And when you bring it back down to real life. Step three isn't about some big abstract thing. It shows up in small decisions, right? It's telling the truth when you normally avoided it. It's pausing instead of just instantly reacting. It's admitting when you're wrong. It's asking for help when your instinct is just to isolate and avoid. It's taking care of yourself instead of running yourself into the ground. That's what that looks like. And when you strip everything else away, it really comes down to something very simple. You get to a point where you say, I'm done letting fear run my life. I'm done letting old patterns decide everything for me. And I'm willing, right? I'm just willing. Maybe not confidently, maybe not certainly, right? With a lot of certainty, but I'm willing to live differently. And the truth is, you don't have to lose everything to get there. You don't have to hit some dramatic rock bottom. You can learn this without having to learn it in a hard way. Because this isn't just recovery work, man. This is just real life work. So for anybody out there, whether you're new to recovery, if you're curious about it, or you're just struggling with step three, or the idea of spirituality, just start. Just start. Start here. Be willing to get out of your own way. That's really it. Be willing to let something wiser than your ego, your impulses, your cravings, your old ways of thinking just guide you toward a better way of living. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about religion. It's about how you live. It's about honesty. It's about hope, trust. It's about selfishness when it comes to your own boundaries. You know, especially boundaries when it comes to your own self care. Not because you don't care about other people, but because you know that you're no good to anyone when you're a mess. So it's about having the courage to look at yourself clearly and just the humility to change. It's about accountability, learning how to repair what's broken, making amends, developing some real empathy, and not just for the people that you hurt, but for people who hurt you too. Um, Taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally on a daily basis. Building some kind of practice that grounds you, dude, whether that's like prayer, meditation, reflection, or just being present in nature, doesn't matter. Over time, what comes out of that naturally is service, right? Not forced, not performative, just showing up very differently in your life for the people around you. And I want to share something with you guys really quick that stuck with me. Stuck with me for a very long time. But it's a quote from Rumi that says that every religion has love, but love has no religion. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. If uh, something here resonated with you, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts too, your insights, your experiences, even your critiques. All of that matters. And if you're looking for help or resources, you can check out our website, truefreedomproject.com. That's where we're going to be putting together access to 12-step fellowships, mental health services, housing support, treatment centers, veteran services, and much more. So much love to you all. Thanks again. Take care of yourselves.